Here's my chamber guide for Lotus. I'm going to start off with defense, and the first thing I do on defense, usually when I'm playing Lotus, is place my trap in B. It's not always going to happen, like sometimes I will choose not to, and that can vary. Like if my teammates are like 3-manning B main, I usually don't place my trap here, I usually have it for myself instead. But other than that, I'm usually going to be placing it B. On C, what I usually do is I usually place my rendezvous here. And I'm either going to fight this angle, which I don't tend to do, but usually I tend to cross and fight this type of angle instead, or I'm going to sit here and wait for someone to come around this corner. Those are the two things I usually do. Sometimes I'll go aggressive a bit more like this, and that's usually because if the teammates like to, if the enemies like to play slow, or they like to properly set up this angle to be fought basically for someone. Sometimes they're going to be someone like close to the angle like this, not ready for me to peek them here, and I'll just peek them before they actually are ready and get a potential free kill on someone with utilate, or the person that's ready to peek basically on the corner. The other one you can do as well for that kind of reason as well is this one. So they do tend to play a bit slower. Maybe if they don't tend to come C instantly, you can have an angle like this. I would recommend this angle, because if you go too far this way, you can see there's two angles exposed to you. So it's going to be harder for you. Like sometimes it's going to be a chance that you're going to be choosing the wrong angle here. So I would just go to like this, and usually I crouch because it allows me to kind of line up with this angle. Because you'll notice here, I don't make sound if I walk off here. So I won't hear someone drop down. So I'm going to need to kind of like combine the two angles to kind of hold it in my opinion at least, to hold it like more safely, I guess. Another rendezvous I like to do is this one. And you can simply just go on top of this box with this rendezvous, and you either sit on this far end here, because when they peek, they'll be doing this. When they peek you, their crosshair is going to be away from you, right? Your head's going to be a bit there, they're going to be aiming here. So they have some adjustments to do, basically. It's going to be harder for them to kind of play the situation out. You're going to have to do one right against this wall like this, because as they come around this corner, they're going to be looking over here. They're not going to be looking over here. So they've got more work to do here as well. So it's a really strong off angle if you know where to place yourself. In the middle, over here, like in the actual middle of the box, there is kind of like an argument to be had where they probably won't be looking at you because they have like other things to kind of look at, but they don't necessarily have any like specific angles to look at. So they might actually be aiming at this. Like it's not the realm of possibility that someone could be aiming here. In like this sort of situation where there's like maybe just this angle to look at, really, maybe this angle, and then they might do this, and then they'll skip that angle. So middle of the box might not be too great, but either side will be marginally better. It probably doesn't really mean that much overall anyway to change where you are in the box anyway. So the next is B, and I don't really place my trap here if I'm going B. Sometimes I will, it just helps me have like a layer of defense, but sometimes I'll just keep it until retake or something. I can like clear an angle with it or something, which can be quite nice. For instance, like if I am retaking A, then you can do this to kind of get all the backside basically, and know that the drop is clear and that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can kind of use that, or the rope is clear, sorry. So you can kind of do that. That's what I like to do when I'm going B, because I don't really need the trap here. Usually I just have a rendezvous like this, and I'm going to fight this angle, and if I don't get fights, then I'm going to scan this angle, because usually there's going to be people positioned anywhere across here, so you want to be scanning this angle, not like slicing the angle, so not like this. You want to be doing it like this, scanning the angle, and then you can start like actually like pre-aiming certain angles and positions here. But yeah, you generally don't want to be doing this with like an actual gun. Usually I do it with my my headhunter, but maybe there's a real reason to use it with an actual gun. I do it with an actual gun as well, but I don't really encounter it that much. But yeah, generally I'm just going to use my headhunter to try and get picks and hold this sort of rotation in spawn for the enemies. And that's pretty much all I have. That's the only way I really play B. There's no other way that I usually play B. There's probably are other ways, but I just don't use them. I just don't actually play it like that. Next is A, and on A, there's a couple things you can do. There's actually a really underrated rendezvous. Not this one though, this one is one that has been used a lot, I think. And you can just do this, then you can have this angle, and then you can keep it away. You are wall bangable here, so you want to be careful of that. That someone, if they know about this, know this angle, then they will probably wall bang you and kill you anyway. You can see here. But yeah, don't be careful of that. The other rendezvous that I think is really, really strong is one like this. It's against the barrier. And this one's particularly good when you are the one like on the strong side with like some of your teammates with the util. So this might happen when you have another sentinel that can play C, or it might happen if you have a really immobile duelist like Phoenix or something, where Phoenix isn't necessarily going to have like, the greatest impact in this area because he can't really use his flashes too well. Like his blaze wall's kind of fine, but he might not have like the greatest of impact, especially depending on the enemy team. Like he might really struggle versus what the enemy team can put in this area. So this is where you come in and you can use a rendezvous like this. You can even use it like this as well. Even if you like, for instance, like if you're the weak side and the enemy team like to play towards C, so you have 3 teammates C and you're playing alone on A, then it means that you can have this rendezvous and you can have a lot of space on A, and then still have the safety of keeping back when you like don't want to get traded or something, right? So you still have all that safety as well. So I do really like those rendezvous on A, and that's pretty much how I would only play A. Really, I play it very aggressively. I'm making sure I'm trying to get first pick with my rendezvous. That's generally how you want to play Chamber anyway, is you want to be trying to get picks with the rendezvous as soon as you can or as much as you can. And there's also one other thing you can do which I like as well. It's generally combined with the ult, where you can do sort of this, where you can sort of peek behind, but like beyond this smoke, right? There's usually going to be a smoke placed here. Sometimes I'll place it here, but usually it's fine. You can kind of predict when they do that usually, and you can have this angle. You can TP out, and usually you either go here or you go here. And you can see you can still have this angle, and you can go here, and then you can also run to this and fight door, or you can sit here and fight door, or fight the actual like choke point. You can fight this one as well. So it just gives you like another layer where you got one kill initially, and then you can TP and set up for another kill later on down the line. You can even do it here, get a kill, run away, backside, and get a kill again, and then try to come out. So you have like a lot of like couple layers where you can play multiple positions, and I really like that sort of setup as well. So yeah, we're going to go on to post plant, I think. Okay, so we'll start with post plant on A. So usually this is actually one of my most popular post plants because I just tend to do it a lot because I'm usually playing C anyway. Like I don't really play A too much, but I do play C the most, so it kind of makes sense I'm retaking A a lot. If you didn't use your rendezvous, so if you went B, then you can place the rendezvous already there, like mentioned. You can also do it here as well. But yeah, I wouldn't focus too much on it because a lot of the time you might not have it. If you come from C especially, you can put your rendezvous here, or you can put it here.
That's not ready.
And if you have it up by this point, if not, you can put it in sight as well. There's good rendezvous positions pretty much everywhere on A site for a retake. And obviously, usually the retake on A is just knowing where the positions are and fighting those positions. So if it's planted here, you're going to be fighting over here probably. If it's over here or here or something, you're going to be fighting here. If it's over here, then it's going to be also probably the stairs as well, or towards main at least. So yeah, so it's all about knowing the positions and just making sure you use your util or use or like hold your angles properly. Next is B, and usually for B, I'm going to be rotating from this position. And honestly, this is one of the most awkward retakes for you because you just don't have any like real utils to fight, and usually you don't have your rendezvous up. So you're basically just going to have to like raw dog it basically until you have, or unless you have teammates that can help you as well. There's not really much you can do by yourself without just like straight up fighting things, right? So you're just going to be straight up fighting and hoping for the best really. That you win those fights. Usually they're going to have lower guns, so trying to stay away from like the short angles would be good. So you need to be very careful in this short area over here. It's like a really small area over here because shotguns, stingers, this type of stuff, they're going to be used here. Otherwise, might be some sheriffs, so ideally a smoke here early on in the retake can be quite useful if you want to ask for that from your teammates. But yeah, but also you need to be careful of that as well. That way you want to be very careful of that angle when you come out of this area. If you're coming from A, usually I'm going to be coming from heaven, which is more fine. I usually have this angle over here that I'm fighting a lot, or I'm going to be fighting like this, which is fine. Or sometimes I'm going to be fighting from the door like this. I'm going to come through the door with a teammate. You can place a rendezvous here. You need to be careful that you don't get reflanked, but other than that, yeah, it's just all about running out and fighting. Honestly, that's what Chamber really is on retakes. You're not really doing too much in terms of util because you just don't have any, so you're just going to be running out and trying to fight people, and that's generally what it is. Retakes on C are kind of the same as the other retakes. It's just going to run out and you're going to try and fight people. You can rendezvous like this or this. You can also rendezvous over here for a CT one. And you're just going to be trying to fight the angles that you see. These types of angles here. Sometimes you'll catch a header on over here as well if they're against the wall. So yeah, you can just kind of do that type of stuff. And just be very, very annoying. Sit on annoying angles. And have a rendezvous that you can TP back with as well. Run time things with your team. Once again, if you do come from B, you can use it to clear areas if you do have it up. It can be quite useful. You don't always need to have the trademark used in the round at the start. At least on defense. On attack, I think it's pretty crucial, but I think on defense you can get away with not having it down if there is people there on the actual like position of the trademark. Just be careful that people don't lurk through B. Sometimes, like sometimes it will happen, and you do need to start placing it there. But yeah, it's up to you really, like when you want to place it. But it can be quite useful in the retake situations as well, as I've mentioned. So yeah, that's it for the defense overall. We're talking about the attack. Okay, so on attack, I'll talk about the individual areas, but generally you want to make sure that you're placing an anti-flank trip. So for A, this would be here, and for B, it would be here, and for C, it would be over here. But you can also do it, sorry, not like this. And these are like the anti-flank trips. So if your teammates are going C, you'll probably place this. If you're going C with them, then you'll place this. If you're going B with them, you'll place it here. If you're going A with them, you'll place it here. If you're going A, you're going to be placing a rendezvous like this and fighting, usually. Usually would have got a fight by now, but yeah, you would fight like this, whatever. And that's kind of it. Ideally, you would have it back up, and you would place it over here, or in tree. You can also do one over here, or over here, like on that thing, and play this angle. So this one's more safe, but you are trapped once you TP, so it's not great if you don't get the fight. This one is less safe because there is a chance like people can be closer to you. So if they do like run through this way, for whatever reason, if you're not aware of it for some reason, then they can potentially catch up to your rendezvous, and you're taking a very fast fight here, so you need to be very careful of that. But this rendezvous does make you less trapped. Good for like this type of plant as well, so you can hold the main, and then you can instantly TP to a place where you can contest this plant, or you can contest like the plant over here as well. So it can be quite good to do them like that, and that's kind of how that goes. The post plant is basically the same as attacking. You should be holding angles with the rendezvous and taking fights. The operator doesn't change much about that either. You're just going to be holding different angles and playing slower generally. Next is on B. And on B, there's kind of two ways you can do this. If you're with your team, then you don't need to place a rendezvous until you're about here, usually. And then you can just have it to like hold these angles, or to fight these angles, or to run out the smoke and fight these angles with your team and TP out when you get into a bad position. I will talk about the lurk very, very soon, because I'll go over the lurk second. And then we talk about C. And once again on C, we don't really need to be placing our rendezvous early, because our teammates should really have this angle. Our duelists and our sentinel, and our initiators should really have this angle anyway. And then eventually we'll place our rendezvous here. And the same sort of premise as B, where we can just run out and fight the angles we need to fight. And TP out when it gets bad. When it comes to post plant on C, if I do TP back, like sometimes I just won't TP back and I can just sit in an angle like this, that's fine. But if we do TP back, I do see a lot of chambers do this, where they'll try and cross back over to site without their rendezvous up and just die, basically. So what I would actually say to do is to just stay here, because not because you want to like value, well, technically you do value your life still, but the main thing is that it's splitting up the angles that the enemy team has to clear. If you're the only person in main, especially. Because your teammates are on site and you're here, so you're creating like more of like a crossfire, making it more difficult for the enemy team to kind of clear out C site, because they have another angle to worry about. Don't worry too much about trying to cross back over to site. If it's not like planted for you either. Like if it's planted over here or something, it's not planted for you. Still maintain this angle and maintain this crossfire, right? Because there's a chance your teammates don't even die on site, because this crossfire is just so strong, and it's making it really hard for the enemy team to actually take the fights they need to on site. So it's all about like just being really, really annoying generally on chamber, as I've already mentioned. You're just meant to be trying to get those angles that are just very, very difficult to deal with. And that's kind of like how it is on C. Next we'll talk about the lurking, because the lurking has actually got a lot easier. But I think it's like the main reason why I think people can struggle on chamber on this map. So one of the main premises about Valorant in general is the chain, right? Maintaining like a chain, which is basically to mean that you want to make sure you have at least some sort of info in every sort of area of the map, or like every sort of like main choke of the map, right? So there's C, B, and A. So every single like area here needs to kind of be accounted for in some way, and we need to try and not break the chain in the middle, right? So if our teammates are going C, I don't want to be placing my trap for them like this, and then I don't want to be running A, because you'll notice that B is completely clear, right? Also there's nothing here, right, for us, so that they can walk into here and they can flank me, or they can break the trap and flank my teammates. So it's not ideal, right? It's not ideal. So instead, what we want to do is we want to place the trap B. That works. And we'll lurk C. So we'll lurk A, and our teammates will go C. So then we have a full chain. So now I can lurk A. I can be aggressive. I can utilize my rendezvous if I want to. Obviously not being too aggressive and making sure I'm actually able to live. Is very, very integral to the way that Chamber lurks, right? He doesn't really have any like other tools. You want to be not as deep set as Cypher. Usually Cypher tries to get into interesting positions. Chamber's more so about taking an aggressive fight or taking some sort of fight that he can live from. Obviously not always. There will be times where you'll be looking for those deep flanks. And also like trying to play off timing and kind of baiting your teammates across the map. There will be those sort of times as well. But for the most part, you do want to be trying to take some sort of early fights and early pressure with the rendezvous, just because of how much of a powerful tool it is to get first blood with something like the rendezvous. So if we do go A and our teammates go C, instead let's talk about B. So if we want to go B, we'll place the trap on A, making sure we maintain the chain like this, and I'll go B. If I do want to go B, generally on the lurk, I place my rendezvous like this. The reason for that, like when the barrier drops, the reason for that is because I'm able to walk up and still have my rendezvous and take this fight basically, at the same time as also having these angles available to me when I get up to this point. So because if a lot of people just place it like this,
that's not ready.
They can find this angle, and then they get to this point and they're like, okay, so if I peek this, I can just die. And it's going to be more difficult for my teammates to kind of salvage that situation potentially. If I die, I'm like all the map control. So it kind of makes no sense for me to like put my life too much at risk here. So therefore, I'm just not going to peek, right? You're going to sit here forever and wait for your rendezvous to come back up so you can place it here. And we don't want to do that, right? It's going to take way too long and it's going to be too much, like, there's not really much pressure going on in that time frame, which is very, very long, right? It's like the first 40 seconds of the map, of a round. So it's going to be way too slow for solo queue, generally. So that's why I like to place my rendezvous here off the barrier. Next, what if our teammates go A and we want to go B or C, right? I've just talked about B, so I won't talk about B again. So we'll just place the trap here. But yeah, just talk about B. Exactly the same if they go A or C. But if I go C and I want to lurk here, I will be placing my rendezvous here. And the reason for that is that I can fight like this, but I can also walk forward and play an angle that's more aggressive and can catch someone like rotating off backside, or I can open the door and generate some pressure for the map, right? So my enemies might think that there's something going on here that isn't going on here, sort of thing. So yeah, that's kind of it for how to lurk as well. On C as well, you can generally get some like more deep set lurks now. The reason for that is because of the lack of range on the trademark, right? This used to be very, very difficult, more limiting. If I press it here, then you can kind of see this range. This was the old range. It might actually be a bug, so maybe this will get like changed again. But yeah, this used to be a very big limiting factor, as you can see here, for like some sort of lurks, right? Sometimes you would have to like dip into waterfall to try and keep this up, but obviously it wasn't usually worth it if you could have a better flank anyway. But yeah, now you just have the freedom to just walk deep into the enemy territory and take a good flank. So I do think Chamber is a pretty good option in solo queue now. I think he might actually just be the straight up best sentinel again. I did used to think he was like the best for solo queue anyway, even over Cypher, and I think that he has kind of cemented that now again, with the lack of the range on trademark. I think that was like the straw that breaks the camel's back for him to be one of the strongest agents in the game again. And in solo queue, he definitely was already. And in pro play, he might see more play because of this change as well, with the more freedom in positioning. Can be quite good for things like pro play. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in my next one.